This episode is sponsored by Vision Attire, our clothing brand sponsor, who have kindly dressed me today. They do active wear for men and women, competition wear for men, all categories. Go to visionattire.com.au and check them out. Use discount code MuscleTalks15 for 15% off. Portion, 100% natural Australian made single protein dog food company. Go to portion.com.au, use MuscleTalks25 for 25% off your first order, MuscleTalks10 for 10% off continued orders after that. Primabolics, Australia's favourite supplement company, proteins, pre-workouts and more. Go to primabolics.com.au and use a generous discount code MuscleTalks15 for 15% off your order.
No one's perfect. You know that, right?
You haven't met me yet.
No, but seriously, no one is perfect. I think that a lot of men and women, they look at bodybuilders and they look at any division of bodybuilding and they think, oh, I could never do that.
Yep.
I've got this, I've got stretch marks, I've got fatty tissue,
Yeah.
I've got all of this stuff. Of course, we want to make sure that you're putting your best package on that stage, but don't let an insecurity or something that's small ever let you stop from making a dream of yours come true.
So
It's never too late.
look,
Trust me, I have clients. I have this one. My oldest client that I've ever had is 71, and it was her first show, by the way.
all right, I would.
Never too late. Then I just love that hopefully I've made posing a priority, because when I first started in the industry, you wouldn't get a posing coach until like 8 weeks out. Whereas now I have athletes that are working two years in advance, and
I'll let you know, I think people in the past want posing to come back, and I think people today want posing to come back. And
posing's back.
Posing's back, but I think I really love to pose. Late nights with badass bitches. The only posing school in the world. There has been 73 pro card, 8 pro showed competitors to come through her school. Bikini pro and winner. Doing it all for the little girl in 2013. Walked off the stage for the first time and cried. Stepped on stage and presented to the winner of Bikini at the Olympia 2022. The Project 2024. Say good mornings on her runs. Please help me welcome Be You. I promise it's worth it. Becc Gwilliam or Becc the Poser.
It's Becc Gwilliam. Just wanted to let you
Gwilliam.
know.
Gwilliam. No, I heard the pronouncers all saying it when I was going through all your reels. Gwilliam. I don't know why it got me then.
My maiden name is Cox.
Yes.
So often people ask me still my name and I say Becc Cox because it's just easier.
Well, I heard it when they announced you won at that competition.
I would have said Cox.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And then I heard Gwilliam. And thank God someone said Gwilliam, because when I saw G. William, I said, what? I've never seen a G. William. Like, that's not, is that usual? Gwilliam?
No, it's not. But my husband has had it his whole entire life. And so the one thing he said to me when we get married, good luck with pronouncing your last name. So now I just say it's G. William.
Yeah.
But Gwilliam. Gwilliam is how you pronounce it. So thank you so much for having me. It's an honour to be here.
It's an honour to be here. Well, you're the first person to say that.
It is.
Chris, make sure that is a hook on all the social medias.
I just wanted to quickly let you know that I didn't award first place. I awarded third place at Olympia.
Oh. No, it's good to correct me. No, it's good to... Well, I saw you go on... I wasn't sure. And...
So I don't know whether you want to do that intro again, but anyway. Like just that line or cut it out.
Do we need to do the intro again? Nah.
Okay.
No, because you've corrected us. And podcast is a conversation.
Okay.
It's not interrogation, even though I know you're an investigative film producer. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
So my whole life I wanted to be Harriet the Spy. So if anyone knows that old-fashioned movie, I'm very nosy, and I was always very nosy growing up. I wanted to know what was happening with people that I had no idea about, and vivid memories of myself sitting on my letterbox when I was about 5 years old, and I had a little notebook and I would write down everything that was happening in my street, from cars going down it to people walking, and I just had this real sense of I wanted to know people's lives and stories and what they were doing. Fast forward many years later and having no idea what to do and delving into a few things at university, I then thought I'd like to go on television and be the host of Getaway, which I think a lot of people would love that job, you know, back in the day where you'd travel around the world.
Was it Katrina Roundtree?
Katrina Roundtree. Yeah. That exactly was right.
Do you know I won a prize from Getaway? Do you want to hear the prize? I won a prize.
Did you really? What did you win?
I won a prize. All right, I'll tell you a story. Chris doesn't know this story. And that's what the podcast is about. It's about stories, you know, not interviews. Yeah. So here we are. We're in Concord in this shitty house that we're renting because my units were too small, and Giselle was pregnant at the time for our first child. And we're sitting there watching Getaway. And as you do, we're in pajamas watching Getaway, you know. And Katrina Roundtree says, we're going to do a competition and you win an all expenses paid trip to Hamilton Island, right? And we're watching, and she goes, all you need to do is out of each show just pick which destination you like, or some, I don't know what it was. It was a pick 3 out of 3 episodes. And online, on a phone, Giselle did it. So we're sitting there, and at the end of the show, they go, all right, we're going to we're going to call the winner. So we're sitting there watching, and then her phone starts ringing. I'll go, what? I go, that's probably a coincidence. She goes, hello, and I hear a voice, hello. And from that moment, we thought the world could see us in pajamas. I'm going, oh my God, we're in pajamas, you know? It wasn't so much that we had social media then. My daughter was born in, I think it was 2003.
Yes.
Right? So there was no Facebook. There was no Apple. There was nothing, right? So Katrina Roundtree's going, oh, hey there for you, good, like blah, 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 blah. She goes, you won the trip to Hamilton Island. And we're like, what? Wow. It's cool. So it was a trip for 4 people.
Amazing.
And obviously we decided to have the baby first, and then we went and we took Ruby with us. And Ruby's been on so many planes. And we decided to I took my parents with me only because there were so many people I could choose, but I knew they would never get a chance to go there, and they would never choose. And I wanted battlers to come with me.
That's so nice.
So even though they really didn't babysit, but the one night they did, my dad didn't like it because he still wanted to go out. My dad's kind of like loved going out. And I said, mate, just stay home for one night. Let me be with my wife.
That's so nice.
So it was, all expenses, everything. We ate so much. I couldn't wait to get back home and just have pasta with Napolitano sauce or something. I was sick of the rich food. You know, when you go into these hotels and they have the smorgasbords, eat what you like, carry on, and then by the end of the trip you're going, mate, just give me some chicken and rice. Yeah?
I love it.
So, all right, you wanted to be... Yeah, it was great. So you wanted to be on Getaway, Katrina Roundtree.
Yes,
so did you like Simon Townsend's Wonderworld as well?
No.
Okay.
I wanted... I know, that's basically what I wanted to do. And so my mum said to me, well, let's work backwards. And what do you have to do at university? And I said, well, I suppose I should probably study journalism. So I did that, and before I knew it, I graduated and graduated with honours, and I felt like I didn't really do anything. Like I just loved it so much and chose television as my major. And I was very fortunate that when I was in my last year of university, I straight away got a job with Channel 7. So I was still finishing my degree, and straight away I was at Channel 7 in Brisbane. I worked for a program. I started in a program called Today Tonight. So if anyone knows what a current affair is, it's basically identical to that. And it really shaped me into who I am today. I learned a lot of resilience. I met the most amazing people, and I also, I think I was put in every situation probably possible and met every single type of person possible that I know now how to deal with every single person possible. Loved my time there, and then worked in television for 12 years and worked my way up in terms of being a television producer. So I started as basically I was the chaser, and I used to work a weekend shift from 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. every weekend when all of my friends were going out partying. And then I worked all my way up to the Sunday night program with Channel 7. I also worked for the first Australian documentary for Netflix, which was incredible, worked with a production company there for a couple of years, and then went back to Channel 7 actually, and did all of that, and then still decided to compete myself. My life was very out of control, and what I mean by that, as in with journalism, and what I was doing is I was being sent and put into really extraordinary situations, whether that was celebrities or whether that was really high-profile stories, from massacres to true crime. We weren't just the news. I was dealing with like the biggest real-life stories, and I loved doing crime. So that sounds very morbid. Like I loved telling that kind of things, from terrorist attacks. And it was all real life. You know, this wasn't fiction. And we weren't just the news that would come in and tell these little stories. We would basically wait for the general, like the news to blow over, and then we would go in, meet with the people that were involved in these situations, convince them to do a story on national television, not talk to anyone else, just tell their story to us, and then basically spend 1 to 2 months with them. And so I did that, and I loved doing that for many, many, many years, and just had the most incredible experiences. But it came to a point where I turned to bodybuilding because I would get sent away all the time, and I couldn't even have a plant because I would be at home and I'd get a call and then I wouldn't come back for 3 weeks. So I loved weight training and decided to do some competitions because it was one thing that I could focus on for myself. So yeah, that was basically where it all started. And then fast forward.
Well, explain resilience. It taught you resilience and dealing with people. What do you mean by that? What kind of what's the resilience that you need? And it could be, the environment you work in, the people you work for, and it could be also the people you're talking to, because everyone's got, personalities. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed, who is following us on all platforms, but especially here on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, please, if you could do us a big favor, which helps us reach more people, get better, bigger, greater. We've already had some great guests anyway. Everyone's been a treat. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you're notified every week a new podcast that is launched. And I just want to say a big thank you. But again, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and enjoy watching Muscle Talks podcasts.
I think that I'm very good at my job because I know how to connect with so many different people. Early on, when I was learning journalism and doing stories and things like that, I definitely had to meet people from all different walks of life that I never had exposure to. I had an amazing childhood. I was very blessed with incredible parents who raised me with very strong morals, but I also had, a really nice childhood. We had a really nice house. I went to a great school, had good friends. And to be really fair, we had our struggles, but not really hard struggles. So when I started to meet these people from all different walks of life, I'm talking, anywhere from lower socioeconomic people to people that have never had a job to living with disabilities, anything like that, insecurities, anxiety, trauma, like deep trauma. Now, all of those years later, when I have a client that comes into the studio or when I'm dealing with people in the industry, whether it's from business relationships to clients, there's a part of me that knows how to attack that situation and deal with that situation because everyone is different, and how I might talk to you is very different to how I would talk to a woman that maybe is a victim of domestic violence that is now going on her bodybuilding journey. And I learnt that all of those years ago with television. And I think that's why I love being a coach, and I can have these amazing relationships with so many different people because I know how to actually relate to them and be on their level rather than being who I am and then them, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I keep thinking also, I remember, who's the anchor for Channel 9 again? What's his name?
Which show?
Peter Overton?
Yes.
Peter Overton, sorry, the news.
Yeah.
The anchor man. All right. I think he was once on some, I think it was on Hope 103 point, whatever it was.
Yeah,
right?
Radio.
And I think they were sponsored it a lot for some reason, right? And they got him on and they asked him a question about, something like, why is the news so sad and so negative? Because unfortunately that's what people are drawn to. And it was kind of like, so what I mean by that, I'm assuming that was also probably trying as well because it was relentless. I'm not going to say negativity, but relentless. That was the narrative of the news. It wasn't like you were, Getaway, so different.
Very different.
You're there at a resort, sitting down, having pina coladas in a little Hawaiian outfit saying, I really like the volleyball court they've got here. And, oh, my God, the spa's really good and the sauna and the reception area. And, oh, my God, I'm eating these prawns with a little bit of whatever it is. Where you're, like, it's tough.
Absolutely.
And I'll say something, and maybe you might relate to this. Sometimes of late too, I've never shared this with anyone. I think Chris is the only one that knows. But I go feed the homeless, right? I know some guy that does it every Sunday. And I haven't gone lately too, to be honest. I'm going to say I haven't gone lately because I just can't do it sometimes. It's a tough world to walk in and see, even though there are happy people in it, as well some. But sometimes you wonder why you need to see it. Sometimes you wonder why you need to experience it. Did you ever get that sometimes? And for me, it's not about them. I'm just wondering, why am I here when I could be on the getaway doing that segment? But I'm here in the thick of war, domestic violence, anger, hate, crying in front of me. And also, I realized, even when, like I said, feeding the homeless people, they're not all the same. They're just like all of our personalities. Every personality you have at the posing school is the personalities in people on the street. So there's scoundrels, liars, givers, kind people, funny people, personality. Like, it's across the board.
Yeah.
And when you see, just go. And like I said, it's tough. I'm just wondering, was it tough sometimes to
Absolutely.
and that builds your resilience, but it's tough. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you do it for a profession, you absolutely become quite numb to it.
Yeah.
But I will say that there have been, over the years that I did it, there was some incredible stories that really stuck with me. And I think it's a case of every single opportunity that I got to tell someone's story, it was their story. So it wasn't my story it was their story.
Yeah.
As we know, every story has a beginning, middle, and end. And if it didn't have that, we wouldn't tell it because it wouldn't be interesting television, and it obviously wouldn't be a story. And so I used the fact that I was able and very fortunate enough to work in an incredible organisation and have a great role, that I took it upon myself that if I'm going to give this person or this family an opportunity to tell their story on international television, and they're only going to tell it once, I want it to be cathartic for them. And so a lot of these people that I was dealing with, what they were going through had only just happened. For example, two big stories that stand out to me that I still will kind of remember, I think, forever, is there was a grandfather who they were in the Margaret River, and a grandfather was, it was breaking news. It was Friday afternoon, and I was sitting in my chair in my office, and it said that the biggest massacre since Port Arthur happened in Margaret River. And it's quite funny, when you're in this job for a long time, of course, you know it's sad, but your immediate response is not, oh my goodness. My immediate response is, there's been a massacre, let me chase it. I love adrenaline. For me, it was always about the chase. I loved getting a story, locking up the talent. What that means is securing the talent so they wouldn't talk to anyone else. When you're in that cycle, the stories are coming in, like the big stories. They don't happen all the time, but they definitely come in. And for me, that's why I lasted in the industry for so long, and I loved it. And I definitely do miss the chase, which sounds very strange, but you're quite numb to the situation because all of the actual reality, it's traumatic. So I think if you aren't numb to it, you'd probably not last in it. But this grandfather, unfortunately, he one morning went around and, unfortunately, killed his 3 grandchildren, his daughter, and his wife. And I remember the only survivor was actually the father of the 3 children and the partner of the daughter that had been killed. And, I met with him 5 days after his whole world is completely changed. And then I spent 4 weeks with him. So it's one of those things that I will never forget. the relationship that I built with that person and the trust that they put in me. And I really hope that potentially, you know, it was some sort of, whether distraction or some kind of healing that could help him along with his purpose for honouring, you know, his beautiful children that had lost. And I think that there were so many other amazing stories that I did that have been through way more things than you and I will ever have to experience. But the craziest thing that I learned meeting all of these men and women is that they are the best humans in, like, what has happened to most of them. They have the most incredible outlook that if that happened to me, I'd be probably rocking back and forth, you know, in the corner. And they just, that's what kept me going, I think. So
Yeah, does that take a different personality when you do that? Remember we spoke about having different personalities?
Yeah, for sure.
Did you have to go into who was that person?
Oh, for sure. Oh, I don't even know.
She got a name? You don't give a name?
She doesn't have a name.
Oh, you got to have
but
names.
you know, I remember being, I think I was 22, and I was put into a situation where I was in a housing commission house in in Brisbane, and I was interviewing this woman who had, I don't know, she was like it was feral. I'm going to use the word feral. And I don't even know what we were interviewing her about. I don't know. Probably some electricity bill where Telstra accidentally, you know, gave her, charged her an extra $500. That's where,
Breaking news.
That's where I started, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I remember sitting there interviewing her, like, tell me how you felt when you opened that bill and Telstra had wrongly charged you of $1,000. And I remember a rat running over my foot. And I remember having this moment right then and there when I said, I am so blessed that my parents raised me the way that I have, that I can appreciate them so much in this situation and, you know, realize that everyone's level of cleanliness was not like mine.
Yeah, no, it's, I tell Chris, I've told many people, you know, we all judge people. Everyone says they don't. Oh, I don't judge anyone. Like, I think it's okay to judge, hear me out. What's not good is for you to believe it after you've met them or that you've looked at the situation around you. You can walk into a pub and you can judge someone drinking alcohol and being funny and you think, is he a wanker? Whatever it is. But if you just stop for a minute and look at yourself and know your surroundings, who you are you any better? Or like you said, what have I learned? I think, like I said, I've learned it's okay to judge people. It's not okay to hold on to it, especially when you're in a room. Because like I said, someone over there looks a bit, you know, shady. And when you meet them, you think, oh my God, I'm glad I met you. And inside your head, you think, I'm so sorry, I thought you were shady. Yeah. So I think it's important that we, you know, we just, you know, I guess address the room in a way that the room is presented to us and just go with it. But I'm not going to the script yet. So then let's leapfrog to the project. Let me find my notes on the project. Because, tell us about that. How did you feel knowing your career, your background? Yeah. And here we are. Just put it over here. Let's get that there. So the project did a story on you. Let me read what I wrote. You know, probably worth me talking about what I wrote. Yeah. There's been a surge in the popularity of female bodybuilding from Maddie Guerrero, I'm assuming that's the name, and Danny Prendices. It's made them feel stronger, not just physically but mentally, after going through hardship. I could write some more. There was a lot there. Yeah. Everyday mum and dads, uni students, everyday women are taking to the stage to be their best, to create their best. Help define themselves, doing it for themselves. Show their kids anything is possible. I'm listening to what these people are saying. Needing time away from my 3 kids under 5.
That was Mariana. Yeah,
that was funny. That probably resonates a lot through the room. More so. Some whys are finding themselves. This is you. Some of their whys are like finding themselves. I see discipline. I see self-respect. I see the hard work. many women that come through here have the epiphany that some of them get divorced, quit their jobs, they stand up for themselves for the first time in their life. So tell us about.
This is a life-changing job. What I do literally changes lives.
Look, that nearly made me cry.
Yeah.
But I didn't cry. But what I mean is, and that's because Harry pulled him in. Steve, get out of that, Steve. Get out of there. Or you haven't had dinner yet. But so tell me, I mean, the project, how that happened, the story. Tell us the stories about, because we're in there. Tell us now the current affair stories in the bodybuilding, posing area.
So I'm very fortunate that I know a lot of people in television.
Yeah.
A lot of them are my very good, amazing friends. And we spent a lot of time together on the road when we were telling stories, and you have unbreakable bonds. And so over the years, a lot of my old contacts have always like, wow, I find this so amazing that I've seen you built up Australian Posing School and the posing school from the ground up. And they always keep saying to me, wow, I think that this is so special and I've been following you and this is amazing. And yeah, I've got an incredible friend of mine called Dale. He is a producer and he puts together some stories for the project, and said, I just think that this is so inspiring what you do, and he spent a lot of time with us and put together a really beautiful story. And I think that there is not a whole lot that's been done on female bodybuilding in the space. And if it is, it's usually featuring more the female bodybuilders or female figure or physique competitors, where no one's really featured the more mainstream. And the thing is that for most of us in bodybuilding, and for myself, I run a business. So, yes, there are pro competitors, but there's a lot more normal women that are competing. And that's the crazy thing is, back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot. It was still popular. There wasn't as many divisions. There wasn't as many federations. There wasn't as many shows on in the calendar. And I think nowadays is that female bodybuilding itself is absolutely exploding in terms of the lower rung. Essentially, I love them. Divisions, bikini, swimsuit, wellness. There's now the new one, fit model. There are so many now opportunities for women to compete, and normal people, normal women can do it, and they can do really well. And while they're doing it, it changes their life, because a lot of them, they do turn to doing this goal, not because they've got their life together and everything is amazing. They're usually doing it because they're wanting to achieve something that they never thought that they could. And along that way, I think they really, truly finally realize that they can do really crazy things and put themselves out there. And that's why a lot of them have those epiphanies in terms of, honestly, every season I'll have competitors that will go through a divorce. They'll quit their job, they'll start their side hustle and really, explode it. I don't know whether maybe I'm like, quit, do that. Maybe it's me that but I think they just realize that they are destined for so much more. And the fact that I get to witness that, oh my goodness, I wouldn't want, that's changing lives. And I love when girls, women, should I say, is that after 6 months to a year, I watch them really be able to hold themselves and stand on their own 2 feet and say no to things, or say yes to things that maybe they would have said no to previously.
So do you at times take off your interview and your posing coach hat at times? Do you have to play between the two? And I guess it's very important. I think I'm not saying that you need to be a journalist. I think you've got to be careful with that part. I'm assuming, right, on my side. Not that you've got to be careful on that side, because some people are private. And they don't come to be opened up about their personal life, I guess. They come to be to expose themselves and but does it make you feel like that's your edge and that's your thing about the posing, the Australian Posing School, that no one else has, is your journalistic approach, or what you've been through and what you've seen, and to take a massive leap of faith to leave the corporate world and change many toilet papers, right? Because you mentioned they've never changed so many toilet papers. Because business behind the scenes is can be, tough. I mean, you got to clean, you got to vacuum, you got to. You're doing.
You basically have 25 roles.
You have 25 roles, and a lot of them are pride swallowing roles, right? And no one knows that. Everyone just sees.
Hey guys, look at me. Vision attire cap, Vision attire top, Vision attire shorts. I'm wearing Vision attire. Love the fit, love the material, love the look. Vision attire, premium Australian active wear for men and women, including comp day wear for all male divisions. Their men's physique shorts are tailored for the stage with quick dry fabric and a cut that brings out your taper. Visionattire.com.au and use Muscle Talks for 20% off all your orders. The cap, the t-shirt, the shorts, love it. Visit visionattire.com.au and use code Muscle Talks for 20% off all orders. Go now, get dressed in Vision attire.
The moment like someone comes in. So, like I said, these women, and I think researching you, I think I was a little bit of I don't know what the word I'm looking for. When we started this 2 years ago, I was not looking for a podcast, and I was not looking to do a bodybuilding podcast. The only thing I have above everyone else is how much I love bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. And I could have competed, and I have no regret not competing, because I've seen people compete and they're not training today at my age, at 56. Meaning, sometimes it's just a phase, or the stage was important to them. My ego was important to me. How I looked was important to me. The way I dressed, how I signed checks for business, how I turn up and get out of my car, ride my Harley. Everything had to do around bodybuilding. I just wanted to show up my best in every situation, turning 30, weddings, christenings, because the cameras were on and I wanted to look well. And I'm talking about from waxing my body to grooming to you name it. I was doing it at the age of 19, and I'll show you, Chris, pass me my phone. I'll show you a photo of me at 19, only because I want to. No, I don't show anyone, not many. Have I shown many? I've probably shown everyone, haven't I, Chris? But I'll just show you something, make you laugh. So 19 is, 1990, around that time, right? Let's just say around, something around then. It's funny, I know, sorry. Just one photo, just to let you know. That's me at 19.
Oh, brilliant.
So what I mean, I'm just trying to, but that wasn't being shaved, that's waxed. Because back then,
I know, you just said wax, poor thing.
Oh, that was killer. But I think there was a competing bodybuilder called Terry Mitsos, and he just said, this is where I go get waxed, and I went and got waxed. And I knew that allowed for better definition.
Yeah.
We should do solarium to look more tanned. And this was nothing to do with the comps, nothing to do with comps. And I did go see comps, and I saw the bodybuilders out there, but I thought I saw that as a different confidence. I don't know if I had that confidence. And I actually probably just blew myself out thinking I needed to be bigger and better.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to compete against anyone in case I came second. I just wanted to come first, I guess. And in a competition, guest poser was Dorian Yates in Sydney. He was huge. So tell me, so what I've seen from starting this podcast, being a little bit naive, is bodybuilding has opened its arms up to many, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the only opportunity we ever get a chance for people with heads like mine to do a fashion parade. Mm-hmm. Because to do Miss New South Wales, to be Miss Sydney, to even be Miss Liverpool, you've got to be damn pretty, quite pretty. I'm not saying we're not pretty, but you've got to be pretty. And some of us, and all the girls are beautiful, but this gives you an opportunity to get on stage and achieve maybe a Cinderella story of. And now after researching you and continually every week chipping away my maybe arrogancy of believing you have to be a bodybuilder, you've got to be training for years, and you've got to at least have a physique and then diet down to see some muscle, which I think some of the guys should. But I don't know about the girls, but I've come to realize as well this business is reliant as well on the bikini, on the figure, on the wellness, on a lot of the, if it was based on the opens, they'd be closing shop.
Yeah.
They'd be closing shop because we only have a lineup of 8 guys on open and we have a lineup of 2 girls at open.
Yeah.
And then we sit there for about 3 days waiting for Bikini to go through.
Yeah.
And we wait for men's physique to go through. And we see, is this ever going to finish? How many lineups do they have here? It just doesn't stop. Hence we're in vision. So ain't bodybuilding unreal?
It's amazing.
Isn't bodybuilding unreal?
I've definitely noticed ever since I opened over 5 years ago,
Yes.
I've definitely noticed just the volume of competitors, the different federations that are popping up, the different divisions that are popping up. And I really feel that in Australia, we have probably some of the highest caliber athletes in the world.
Yes.
Our amateurs are absolutely insane, both from a physical perspective and a posing perspective.
Yeah.
I definitely think that Australians, they really prioritise posing. And for me, that's all, I'm about. I just want a competitor that decides to do a show, one, understands that they are going to be performing on a stage. I think a lot of them forget that they're actually performing. That is what we're asking them to do by competing.
Yeah.
They're not just stepping on stage and we're not just judging their physique. They have to perform on a stage. So I'm almost thinking in my head, number one, if you're going to compete, you do have to be a performer.
I've said that. Mm-hmm. And to make bodybuilding even, I know they keep talking about greater, it has to become a spectacular. It has to become where you buy tickets like, I know it sounds extreme what I'm going to say now. It's like buying tickets to go see Phantom of the Opera or to go see a stage show. Like this is people paying to watch something.
Well, they are athletes and what they're doing is extreme, and they've spent a lot of time working on their physique, a lot of time on their posing, a lot of time and energy and so many sacrifices that they are performing on a stage. And no matter if they come first or last, I definitely think that there is so much more where this sport can go from a spectator perspective. But it, there is still that little bit of edge of that circus freak vibe, which I think will always,
we need it. No, we
it will
need it.
always
You can't take that
really
away.
have that, the normal person.
It's the main
looking-
event, like a
yeah.
boxing, the main card, and then the main fight. You need that. Go on.
No, sorry, you lost my train of
Oh,
thought.
so sorry. I feel like I did.
Number one rule of interviewing: don't.
Chris told me podcasts aren't interviews; they're conversations. Blame Chris.
Still the same.
Still, Chris, you got it wrong. We've got a reporter here, mate.
No.
Go on. Have you got your thought back?
I'm brutal. I'm the most brutal person you've probably interviewed.
No.
You've had some tough ones?
We've had people that have taken my chair. They say, "Can I sit there?" And I go, "Yeah, no worries. Whatever you want. Mate, whatever they want."
It.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. All
Chris
right, let's
loves it.
get stuck into posing. That's why we're here.
Well, no, we have talked about posing. We have. I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Do people? All right, we're going to get to the first question.
Yeah.
Do people come to you to learn to pose even if they're not going to compete?
Absolutely.
I want to let's ask that question.
I definitely have. I've years and years and years ago, I had this woman that came to me and asked me to pose for photo shoots. So we do photo shoot posing. But it's funny, I actually get a lot of clients that come to me first before they've even hired a coach. So they'll come and they'll say, look, I've thought about maybe doing a bodybuilding show, but I don't really know what to do. I've seen these women on social media. Where do I fit? What do I like? They have no idea. So, which I really love. I love that they're kind of coming to myself to go, am I cut out for this or what's involved? I've had some competitors that have come in and I've put them into posing and they were like, hell to the no. And then I never see them again. Because it's one of those things that with bodybuilding, if you don't want to do it, there is no way that you are going to win. There is no way that you're going to have longevity in the sport. Because of course, there are times where it gets hard and you're like, I want to throw in the towel. I don't want to do this. But for most of us, this is a hobby. For most competitors, is a hobby. It's not only a small hobby; it's a very expensive hobby, and it takes up a lot of sacrifices. This is not a hobby where you, I don't know, go and do basketball on the weekends and play an occasional game. This is something where you have to spend, especially in season, 3 hours minimum a day, especially or sometimes longer, whether that's, tracking your food, doing posing, training, organizing everything. It's a huge commitment. And so some people, they'll do the posing and they're just like, absolutely not. I'm not cut out to it. Or they'll do the pose and they really can't do it. And I'll say to them, okay, now you got to hold that for about 5 minutes. And they're like, oh, fuck that. No way, not doing it. But for the most of the time, they're like, okay, all right. Okay, I can see it. Right. And they're like, okay, right. And then I always say this funny thing as we go through their preps and they're doing their posing. And I love that every athlete I see takes it super seriously. Like they're very diligent for the most part. I definitely had some athletes that don't. But for the most part, every athlete that I get that comes through the door, they are so fixated on their competition and so focused, and they almost get really anxious or they work themselves up. And I turn to them and I say, Dal, just want to let you know, you realize that you're competing at an RSL and like grandma's sitting there eating her chicken schmitty. You know, like it's not the Olympics. Of course, I've got athletes that are pros and they are working up, you know, 2 big
Someone
shows
just won
like
a jackpot.
Olympia.
Someone's screaming in the other room, won a jackpot.
Exactly. You know, they're literally at the RSL where the parking is free and then it's like $2 after 6 hours.
I know.
And you're going to win the meat tray. So, and they always laugh when I say that because they do. You get so fixated on this end goal and, oh my goodness, am I going to compete and what is going to happen? And of course, lots of these bodybuilding shows have amazing venues. Don't get me wrong. Some of them have the convention center and things like that. But for a lot of them, it's at little RSLs, it's at universities. I'm like, mate, look at where you are competing. It's okay. And is there anyone in the audience other than friends and family? No. So just use it as a celebration.
God, I might compete now. But
yeah,
another funny
I'll eat a chicken snitty while you compete. How's that sound?
I'd say get 2. I'll be there in a second. It's my cheat meal at the end. Another funny story. Before the podcast, I knew Chris because I got a coffee business as well.
Yeah.
And Chris is into the coffee game as well. So I was thinking of competing in 2019 you've been around for 5 years. So you started in 2020? Is that when you started?
That's when I first started teaching posing in 2019 and I first started competing in 2013.
But your studio
we opened, so officially we opened the studio in 2022. So I was posing coaching out of another place before we opened our studio.
Okay, yes, that makes sense now. I was going to compete in 2019. No coach, no one. And I thought I could register a week before, which I got completely wrong.
Yeah.
And I was going to do the Arnold Classic.
Oh, yeah.
IFBB. Wow. And I did. I could show you photos about that too.
Wow.
I'll show you. Where's my camera? Where's my camera, Chris? Only for context for you to go, wow, this guy's amazing. Any excuse? No. Let me just quickly do this. And it's part of the fun of the podcast, I think. Or is it? Or isn't it? So.
Awesome. Good size.
Yeah. That's 2019. Getting into shape.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, that's.
You should have done some photo shoots.
I know I didn't. I didn't know Chris at the time. But then again, so having said that, just get rid of that. Put that down there. So in 2022, just after COVID, I thought I'd compete again. I thought maybe I'll compete, and this time I decided to. I won't mention names.
Yeah.
So I decided to ask an old style bodybuilder, would he train me? Because he helped another guy win his comps back in 2019 at Arnold Classic. And he was a little paranoid kind of guy. And he goes to me, all right, if you're serious, out of the blue, we haven't even met. He goes, meet me. And I didn't know. He goes, meet me at the Australian Posing School on Saturday. And I that's all French to me. And Tony Doherty was doing a posing thing before the IFBB, right? And as they do, they come and do posing before the comps start. What do you call that?
Workshops.
Yeah. So they were doing a workshop. He goes, turn up there. So I've turned up, no joke. I think I'm in a shorts, like Vans, just a loose T-shirt. And I've rocked up and I'm walking in, and honestly, I was saying to myself, God, everyone looks pretty buffed here, man. Like it was my first me who loves bodybuilding being around bodybuilders, because I'm very private. That like my life is cars, motorcycles, dogs, going for walks, coffee business, and the gym was, and I was a personal trainer once, and I didn't do it because I thought if I made it a business going to the gym, I don't think I'll go back. It's my getaway. So I did Australian Institute of Fitness or FIA, whatever I did the course way back. We're talking about when I was 20 years old. I was a personal trainer. Anyway, cut long story short, I rock up and it's packed, and I walk upstairs and everyone's moving around, going around. I didn't know who Tony Doherty was, right? And then I heard Tony saying he's got a coffee machine in Doherty's gym in Melbourne. I said, maybe I'll give him a business card. Maybe I'll go supply him coffee. That's all I was thinking in my head, right? And this is what happened. So we get there and I'm sitting in the corner because I'm literally, everyone looks buffed and obviously they're ready for comp. So that's why I was very intimidated. I'm going, like, look at them all waxed up, all shaved up. And then Tony goes, okay, I want everyone to get up and we're going to do some posing. We're going to strike some posing. And I was going to say, look, John, I'll call him John. John said, all right, get up and pose. I went, I beg your pardon? He goes, if you can't do this, you can't get on stage. I went, you're putting it on me now, mate. That's what I said to him. I go, you're putting it on me.
How many weeks out were you?
Oh, no, I wasn't even ready. Oh. I was initiating a coach. So I was not at all going to compete.
How'd the posing go?
Keep you in suspense. Come on, let's not go straight away into it. Everyone's watching here, right? Anyway, he goes, if you're not going to pose, why are we here? So I have no. I'm thinking I'm going to compete in 6 months' time. I'm thinking when I sign a coach, now we pick a competition. I don't know what competitions there are, right? And he said, yeah, if you don't pose, you're not taking this seriously. And I went, I don't know what to do. I don't even know how to pose, right? And he goes, and he said to me, and you don't have to take off your shirt. That's all he said to me. You don't have to get undressed. You can just
pose.
Just pose. Go out there and pose. Anyway, I went, all right. I didn't even know the categories. I don't know what men's physique is. I don't know what classic is. I don't even know what open is. And for some reason, they called the division, which I think was classic. And I was getting ready, and I think it was already done because whatever happened, it was done. And I went to go out there, and John goes, oh, you don't have to do it. You missed it. Like I did. I missed it, right? But he knew I didn't do it on purpose. Obviously he saw I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And when he said you missed it, I said, great. So I just sat back down and I was just watching the whole spectacle. So that was before even me and Chris spoke about podcast, anything. And I was even up at the national show in Brisbane in 2023, and you were judging up there.
Yeah.
And I saw the picture of you on stage, and I was in the crowd.
Yeah, amazing.
So I was definitely navigating around thinking I wanted to compete, and I was flying around and doing stuff. And this is way before Muscle Talks podcast. And then, I don't know, somehow we're here. So
it's never too late.
Look.
Trust me, I have clients. I have this one. My oldest client that I've ever had is 71. And it was her first show, by the way.
All right. It's
never too late.
No, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what my insecurities are.
Okay.
All right. Not that you're a doctor. I've got these like fat lumps that have happened. You know, when somewhere the doctor told me, like just out of the blue, like I said, there's a little fat lump here, right?
Yeah.
It's just a fat deposit. Now I don't know if I lean up, that's going to go away, but I worry about going on stage with these little. And I think that has put me back a second.
Yeah.
So I've got to reassess it.
No one's perfect. You know that, right?
You haven't met me yet.
No, but seriously, no one is perfect. I think that a lot of men and women, they look at bodybuilders and they look at any division of bodybuilding and they think, oh, I could never do that.
Yeah.
I've got this. I've got stretch marks. I've got fatty tissue.
Yeah.
I've got all of this stuff. And no one is perfect. And I think it's one of those things that you need to ask yourself, what do you want out of it? Okay? This is me coming from a place of love, and this is what I say to a lot of my athletes, and I'm going to say it to you.
Please do.
Is your dream to be a professional bodybuilder and step on the Olympia stage?
No.
right? So why would you want to compete? Are you doing it for other reasons? Are you doing it to prove to yourself that you can finish a goal? Are you doing it to finally live out a dream that you've always had? There are so many different other reasons for everyone to compete, because really 1% of people are actually going to 1, turn pro, 2, make it a profession, and then 3, follow through and compete on an international stage. Not that many people, okay? But there are so many other reasons why you can compete. And of course, we want to make sure that you're putting your best package on that stage, but don't let an insecurity or something that's small ever let you stop from making a dream of yours come true.
Well, to answer it, since you've posed the question to me, I've never wanted to compete. That's first. But I'm competitive.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I can't beat. And the only thing that's going to get me on stage is because I'm questioning myself.
Yeah.
And that bit I don't like. And then the other bit is, and I know this is, like I said, it's probably, and I've had a few Olympians on here and they all say the same thing. They all say, I only do it, get on stage to win. I'll deal with it if I don't win. And I think that's me too, in a sense, even though it's not about getting to the Olympia. It's not, I'm not here to beat that guy or to beat that guy. It's like literally, how am I going to handle if I don't win?
Yeah.
And that's the bit I got to kind of decontextualize. I don't know the word I'm looking for.
Absolutely.
That's the bit. But will I do it? Maybe. I'm doing, I noticed you also trained at Metroflex one time when I researched you. I'm training at a good gym, Metroflex, at the moment, and the guys around you, regardless, they make you push that little bit further, even though you're not talking to them.
Yeah, my last coach is based out of Metroflex.
Yeah, and they just the surroundings turns you to push an extra rep without you, because it's the hunger and the competition around you, and then there's the young blood and then the old blood and all that stuff. So it's kind of made me think, all right, I'm gonna turn that physique you saw at 49. I'm going to outdo that one. So for me at the moment, that means we've got to. So we're doing it. So we're getting there, but we're not. We're finding base. We're working on base, build on experience. What I know, disciplines, food for a long time. We're talking about not food for 1 month. We need to be knowing that we've been eating well for 6 to 9 months, and we've done great gains, and then we may do a little pretend cut, see what it looks like, and then maybe commit to something where I've done a little bit of my own. Well, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I sometimes have a lot of clients very much like you in terms of they always like, oh, I'm going to compete, I'm not going to compete, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do this. No. And genuinely, I highly encourage you to just do it, because you will only ever get better. And I'm here to tell you that you'll never achieve being perfect. So you'll always, the better you get, the more, like the higher, you'll never get that perfectionism or perfect body. You'll never get a perfect body. No. And I think that sometimes that the more you win as well, you realize that you have to keep getting better and better and better and better and better. And that can enter into some pretty dangerous territory as well. So
I think the again, this episode is sponsored by Vision Attire, premium Australian active wear for men and women, including comp day wear for all male divisions. Their men's physique shorts are tailored for the stage with quick dry fabric and a cut that brings out your taper. Visit visionattire.com.au and use code MUSCLETALKS for 20% off. Portion, 100% natural, single ingredient Aussie dog food. No fillers, no nasties, just real high protein treats like kangaroo jerky and goat trotters. Go to portion.com.au, use MUSCLETALKS25 for 25% off your first order and Muscle Talks 10 for 10% off all orders after that. Primabolics, Australia's most trusted supplement, backed by full clinical doses. Whether it's protein, pre-workouts, or health support, they've got you covered. Visit primabolics.com.au and use Muscle Talks 15 for 15% off all your orders. Naive about bodybuilding and being exposed to you guys. You guys have taught me everything. This podcast has taught me a lot about what I love, right?
Yes.
What I've learned, it's not about size. It's about design. It's about fitting the category that you're going in, turning up, dialed in the way they want you to dial in, and having the shape that requires that division.
Yeah.
So it's not about being the biggest guy in the room, because it seems like in America, all the Olympians are 5'7", right? And after talking to Ed Connors, it seems like anybody above 5'9" or 5'10" should do wrestling. So that's what Ed Connors writes. So what I've come to realize, people like Leland Bradas back in the past, all these, the reason they won shows, and Sean Ray's, is they never went for mass. They went for sculpture. And they turned up sculpturally the best. And that's why they would be winning competitions or being in the Olympia or wherever you're going. I think, and that's what has been the light bulb moment that I've realized, well, let's not worry about size necessarily.
Yeah.
Let's worry about where am I lacking? Work on that. The food aspect, the trust aspect, like you said, maybe you're getting a coach or doing stuff like that.
And then you can come to us for posing.
Come to definitely. And I'll wear my Muscle Talks cap, and we'll do.
I think it's a case of, with competing, and it completely depends on the federation that you are competing in, but for the most part, every federation has particular divisions, so particular categories, and they have particular criteria for those categories. You could have the most incredible physique that anyone has ever seen in their life, but if you do not fit the criteria of that category, you're not going to win. And I think that sometimes women, I get all the time, that they have phenomenal physiques. I've got a particular woman at the moment that has incredible muscle all over. She's like, everyone looks at her and they're like, wow. But she's about to compete, actually. And the whole time it's almost, she doesn't quite fit a division. I mean by that, as in, she's a little bit too big in one particular area, too small in one particular area. And so it's always that fine line when you are competing. The judges have particular criteria that they have to go by. And you could have the most incredible physique, have the most, for wellness, perfect example. You could have the biggest freaking quads, the most developed hamstrings, amazing glutes, but have shoulders so big that they outpower your legs, that you've completely gone against what wellness is. It's about a clear imbalance between the upper and the lower. And, a lot of different federations, they have criteria which is don't award this in, particular things in a category. And if that competitor has those things, then they can't potentially win that category because they've gone against it. So I think for any athlete, it's about, okay, where does my physique currently fit? What federation does it currently fit in? Because definitely there are so many federations in Australia. There's, I think at the moment, like 14 or 15 active federations. Wow. There's about 3 or 4 that lay dormant. Sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. But I would say that there is absolutely a federation for everyone. And you will fit in a particular division. So I have athletes all the time, especially when they're amateur, and I do encourage this. I encourage amateurs to compete in a couple of different federations because they will have different backstage experiences, and their physique will fit in a particular federation, a particular category that, say, another federation didn't offer. And that's the great thing. That's why there's so many federations, and they can exist and they can run businesses. Because I, for example, I'm quite a small human, and so I just don't have the muscularity that is needed for particular categories in particular federations. Or some women, they don't have a typical hourglass shape. So will they, no matter how much dieting, no matter how much training in, say, 12 months, could they ever potentially fit into a category that they're looking for the hourglass frame? Probably not. So it's all about understanding, 1, your physique, 2, understanding the landscape of the different federations and the divisions, and then where you want to go. Because if you are wanting to go to Olympia, well, obviously there's NPC IFBB Pro League. That's the path to go there. If you're not wanting to do that, and maybe you're wanting to be more into fashion and glitz and glamour, then that's where FMG is great. So, and then there's, so many others which are fantastic for other different avenues. So I think when you are competing, don't psych yourself out with thinking, oh my gosh, I have flaws, because there are particular things that we can do. And plus, trust me, with posing and with athletes on stage, and I can say this from a judging perspective, I'm very fortunate enough to have been a judge for IFBB Pro League for some years now, and I'll never take that for granted. It's a huge, and I think it's a huge honour.
Yeah.
To do that and to be asked back all of these years, and I love it. And it's helped me as a posing coach.
I'm sure it has.
More, and I think that's sometimes I say my little secret weapon, because I always banged on about things when I was a posing coach before judging, and now that I am a judge, it's like, holy crap, that is actually really important. And maybe things that competitors used to stress on, they don't need to stress on things. Like they get super hyper fixated on particular things. And I'm like, actually, no, you know what? You need to be hyper fixated on when you're standing on the diagonal line, when the judges aren't even, when you don't think the judges are looking at you. Because me, myself, as a judge, I rely on competitors that are on the diagonal. There are competitors maybe right in front of me doing their quarter turns or their muscularity round, but I've already placed them. I already know where they are in my head, and I'm looking at the two competitors that I'm still like, oh, are they first? Are they second? Where am I fitting? And that's when, especially with men, they relax, or especially with girls, they might be taking a full belly breath. I'm staring at their midsection control. So I think, judging has really helped with me being a better posing coach as well, and just having a better appreciation for it. But new thought, and I really love this, is that when you are on stage, I think a lot of athletes, what I'm about to say is going to be a little bit controversial, but I think when athletes go on stage, because they have worked 6 to 9 months, 12 months, 5 years on building their physique for that particular minute of that particular day, because we all know it's just down to this one particular moment, they want to have stage time. They're all about, I want to do an individual walk, and I want to do my comparisons. I want to make sure that, the judges see me. And a lot of women get fixated with amazing transitions. And a transition, if no one knows, is what you do in between a pose.
Yeah.
And they want to do pretty hair flicks and little shoulder shrugs and little shimmies and maybe like a little zha-zha, voom things. And the more time that you are spent on stage, the more time that you are giving the judges to find your weaknesses.
Yes.
The more time that you spend transitioning and turning to the back, you better believe I'm looking up at your glutes and trying to find skin wrinkling. I'm trying to find clear imbalance in those glutes. Maybe one's bigger than the other. Wow. The more time that you potentially spend on posing on stage that you aren't asked for, or that's not perfect, you're giving the judges an opportunity to see your flaws. So when you are going on that stage, don't give a judge an opportunity to see your flaws. Hit the pose that they're asking you to do and hold it, because you're much safer in a pose than you are moving and jiggling and doing anything like that.
Right. That's a very good. It's a very good tip. I agree. They do. I mean, I've sat at the shows and watched it, and I think maybe they do believe the more. I mean, maybe it's unfortunate. I mean, the word I might use, seductive, or whatever they're trying to do, or whatever they're trying to impress. I mean, yeah, I think that they're costing them time. I've also come to realise, I was speaking to someone yesterday at Metroflex, a girl that has competed, and I thought she was wellness. And I said, "Are you wellness?" She goes, "No, I'm bikini." She goes, "But everyone says that." But then I realised after talking to her, and she said, once I shed down, once you lean up, she didn't look like wellness, she said. Maybe I look like wellness now. So maybe some people need to know that too, because maybe they think they're a bigger build. But once they've lost 10 kilos, 12 kilos, and they come on stage, then you're relying on what muscle mass you have. You could end up not being that. And like you said, maybe choosing a variety of not only federations, but maybe even the divisions.
Yes.
To know, like, don't hold your expectation on wellness, because you might not do well, but you might do well in bikini. So maybe
That's why I think it's really important, especially if you've never been at that extreme level of conditioning before in your life. It's really important to have good coaches in your corner that can guide you, and to be open to change. I think a lot of competitors, they have a dream of whether they want to be a classic physique competitor or they want to be a figure competitor, and they think that they are more muscular than they are, where in reality it is just body fat.
Yes.
And then once they strip down, it's like, oh, okay, those lats that those glutes that I thought I had, yeah, that was just pure fat, and they're all gone, and now they're quite small. And I think it's a case of, and it happens with posing all the time, we are constantly changing. We're constantly reviewing a physique every week as new lines and cuts appear, especially in those last kind of 6 weeks. We have to change the posing, and it's all about the mindset of the competitor. They have to be open to change. I get it all the time where competitors will come in and they'll say, I think I want to do fitness. And this is in other federations such as NBA, ICN. And I look at them, and usually in my head I'll kind of know that they're not fitness or sports. But I'm like, okay, great, no problem. Like, let's have a look at how you lean out. And we have that conversation when they're usually about 8 weeks out, and I see that they have absolutely no delt at all, and they're very much a bikini competitor, and they do not have any abs. They probably have abs underneath, but they're just not that grainy, hard look that those federations are needing for the sports and fitness categories. And I have that conversation with them and say, look, and this is where it's up to that athlete. I said, you could do sports and fitness, but you just don't have that level of conditioning or that muscle size that they're needing to meet the criteria of that division. And I don't think that you would be highly competitive in that division. Obviously it is, we don't know who's going to show up, but from past winners, they probably don't look a lot like those categories. However, I say to them, your physique at the moment is bang on of what the last bikini competitors did in that category. And I say to them, what is your goal? Is your goal always to be a sports or fitness competitor? Because if that is, then let's do it. And I will hold your hand and we will do it. But is your goal to place the best that you can? Because if your goal is to win a medal, then I advise that you should do this division. And usually what happens is we'll have that conversation. Sometimes I'll have a little cry. And I've pulled girls 6 days out. I've changed divisions. And then they get there and they win. And I look at them and they go, yeah, I don't care what division I do. I bloody won gold. And I said, exactly right. So it's one of those things that sometimes it's a little bit of a pride. They've got to swallow their pride or their dream that they've always wanted to be this fitness competitor with huge delts, and maybe change their goal, or vice versa. Sometimes I'll have competitors that come to me and they'll say, I'm doing wellness. I've always had a huge lower body. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, they've got that really small kind of maybe small waist, long torso, which is what a really good wellness competitor is, because there's that nice juxtaposition between the two. And I'm looking at them going, yeah, actually, I think they're probably wellness. So we pose for wellness. And then about 4 weeks out, I'm like, wow, they're symmetrical. They're balanced. What am I like? And we have this conversation where, holy crap, yeah, that was all fat. That was all body fat. And you are actually a completely different division. Or I have girls that want to do figure. And I say, great, if you want to do figure, awesome, let's do it. Let's do another year or 2 years, honestly, because, figure girls, they're not huge. I think people think that figure women have to be gigantic and jacked because you see photos. I teach a lot of figure competitors. I've got a few figure IFBB pros. And structurally, they're my same height as me. They just have incredible muscle. They know how to engage properly. They know how to get their muscles out. There are lots of women, though, that want to do figure, but they just they're not complete. So they're missing some development in particular muscle groups. And I say, however, if you want to compete now, you actually meet the criteria of bikini. Yeah. And they're like, really? I'm like, yes, because once we shed about 15 kilos off this frame, you're actually probably going to look like, you're going to meet it. You're going to have beautiful shoulders, really nice small waist, nice developed glutes, nothing too overpowering. So it's up to you. and so then it just makes this question of, it's exciting for the athlete because they can figure out, okay, who do I want to be? Do I want to be a male bodybuilder or do I want to be a men's physique? Very different physiques. And it's exciting. And I think that as well, when you are an amateur and when you are a first timer, you start essentially at the bottom, and then as years go on, you can progress towards bigger divisions with more muscularity. Or I've had a lot of bikini competitors that have been too muscular, or wellness girls that have been too symmetrical, that have gone away for a year or 2 years, and they've worked on their physique with their coach and tailored their training to mold themselves into the criteria of that division. It's really cool to watch.
Is that the standout for you guys? Is that what it is about the Australian Posing School? We tell you what, like, it's not, we'll do anything, we'll do whatever you want to do, but if you're willing to take constructive criticism and guidance and really take your posing, well, not just your posing seriously, but take your posing coach seriously, that's going to guide you to achieve your ultimate goal, which is you want a trophy, then we're not doing that division. But you want to experience the division, then we're doing that division.
Yeah.
So is that I guess the, because that's like light bulb moments are going off in my head because I'm thinking, wow, that's just not what I thought.
And who are
posing coaches are, and I'm assuming that's not really out there. And is that the standard about the Australian Posing School?
I think
is the guidance?
my secret, I wish that I had in my head, I always joke and I wish that I could replicate myself, because over the past 13 years, all of the knowledge of all of the different federations and their rules and guidelines, and understanding the posing for all of them, and then understanding what is won, what is lost. And that's just from pure time and me going to all of the different federations and dealing with all of the different types of athletes, that I've learnt that stuff in my head. And it also changes all the time. And that's where it's like so crazy. It's like, what we used to award for a particular division for a particular federation. Oh yeah, they're changing that now. And the posing is changing too. So I think what makes Australian Posing School so special is that no matter where you are in life, you can compete, and no matter what you want out of it, you can have an amazing experience doing it. Because it's not for you and I to judge. If someone wants to step on stage and when you look at them, maybe they're not quite in condition, I will, out of the duty of care of myself as a coach, we'll have a conversation with the athlete. And that athlete might have gone through something incredible, something life-changing. That athlete might have lost 50, 60 kilos. That athlete might be terminal with cancer. And they're doing this show and they're competing in this division because they've always wanted to do it. They know that they won't ever win. They know that they'll never turn pro, but that's not their goal, okay? So you've got like one party that's like that it's a big goal for them. But then you've got the big camp, which is that they want to do well, they want to win. And it's about understanding as a coach, building that relationship with the clients, having that duty of care, having that community as well that they feel safe in. And to basically, one, maybe pull them from a show or guide them to a show or to a division to do, and to also give them confidence that they can do this, and that they can do freaking hard things. Because all of them are like, oh my God, do you think I can do it? Can you not think I can do it? Oh my God. I'm like, just do it. Let's just do it. Let's just follow the plan. Do what I say. Do what your coach says. Have a freaking great time doing it. Meet some incredible people. And you can do it.
I never thought that was that. I would never have thought. Yeah. I mean, this has been a massive insight for especially people. And I guess this is what it's about, because it's about you. It's not about us or me. It's about you. It's definitely opened my eyes up. Let's just quickly, I want to know, when did you start bodybuilding? At what age?
23 or 22. What got
you to the gym?
So I did dancing growing up. I loved dancing. And then I was never, I love my parents very dearly, but I was never educated about health.
Right.
So I didn't know that if you ate bad food, you would turn fat. Yeah. Like I had no idea. I just, food was food, and I hated sports. So I refused to do the rock climbing wall in school and failed PE, like physical education, because I was like, why would, please. I was afraid of heights. Like, why do I have to climb up a wall. I'm not doing that. And he was like, the teacher said, you realize you're going to get an F. And then my mum said to me, I don't care. I hated sports growing up. She would always write me a sick leave for athletics carnival because I hated doing that. I liked swimming, but running, no. I was not a sporty person. I loved dancing and that was my release. But I had no idea about health and fitness. I really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I was about 19 years old and my boyfriend at the time loved surfing and I grew up in Brisbane, so every weekend we would go to the Sunshine Coast and on the weekends I would eat 2 hash browns, 2 bacon and egg McMuffins. I'd then probably wash it down with a Coke slushie and then I'd have like a Kit Kat for morning tea, some donuts, had some Indian curry with the garlic cheesy naan. I had no idea about food. Like I obviously wouldn't exercise. Like Did
you have a fast metabolism? Did you have a bit fit body? Or
no, I wasn't. I think the heaviest that I weighed was about 20 kilos over what I weigh now. Right? So I'm a light person. Wow. I'm actually a very light person. So if I say my heavy weight, it's probably some of the bikini girls' weight. So I'm not going to reveal that. But I definitely had not a lot of muscle mass. And so I remember, but I never had an issue with your
body.
My body. I never looked in the mirror and was like, ew, or gross. I just remember vividly one day I went clothes shopping and I had to reach for the size 14 clothes. And, women's clothes started at a 6 and I reached for the 14 and I went, I'm reaching for the largest size. Back in the day, now it's very different, but I was reaching for the largest size and I thought to myself, I'm not little. Okay, I'm not as small as I used to be. And then I just started going to a boot camp. That was when boot camps were booming.
Boot camps were booming.
Boot camps were booming.
5 o'clock in the morning boot camps.
Yeah, and my dad loves boot camps. So Dad was like, let's go to boot camp. So I decided to do 3 boot camps a week. And over about 9 months, I lost about 6 kilos. And it was just she was saying, look, instead of having 2 pieces of white bread with just Vegemite, why don't you have, a protein shake for breakfast or something like that? And it was just that exercise that got me into it. And then I became addicted. And I loved the community culture and I loved the competitiveness. I'm a very competitive person and really loved the community aspect of it. And there was a gym receptionist and she said, you should do this 8-week challenge at the gym. And I said, yeah, bring it on. And so I just loved anything to do with health and fitness and loved the 8-week challenge. And I thought, okay, I've done a few 8-week challenges. I was quite small, got quite small at the end, but a lot of running. And I loved running. I used to run about 10 to 12K a day. Now I could never do that. But
you've incorporated the good morning.
I still love running, but I don't do as much as that. And then she had competed in a bodybuilding show and social media wasn't around. And I said, I think that's like the next challenge. Like that's the next goal. And she was like, yes, this was my coach that did it. I loved him. He was great. And so I sent him a message and every week I went for measurements. It got to 12 weeks out and I probably wasn't really sticking to my diet. There was no resource, I didn't really know. And it was a very bro diet. My breakfast was oats, egg whites, banana.
Very bro.
Protein powder.
Yeah.
Fish and greens, rice cakes, peanut butter, honey.
Yeah.
More fish and greens. And I hated peanut butter and rice cakes. And I just never ate them. And so he'd say to me, I love them now, but he would go to me, have you eaten all your food? I'd be like, yes. Even though I think I was probably eating air. Anyway, and then finally I stepped on stage in 2014 and had the horrible time. Absolutely hated every moment of it. Swore, came off stage. There was so many of us in our category. This was before they didn't split it up into height classes or anything like that. There was like 35 of us on stage. And so.
Was that the crying moment?
Yeah, so I walked off stage. My best friend was there. She was holding a box of pizza shapes and a full Coke, like normal sugar Coke, because that's what I wanted. I was like, I want a normal Coke and a box of pizza shapes or barbecue shapes. And so she was holding that. And I said, I can't believe that I did that. And she goes, what do you mean? And I said, I had this moment where I was standing there and I was watching the judges and this was the best that I'd ever looked in my entire life. I had no idea about posing, by the way, but no one knew back then. Like, it wasn't really a priority. And I was looking at all of these like girls on stage with me, and I thought, oh my God, they're ridiculing me. Like, they're analyzing every single part of my physique. And it's quite funny because I think, you know, people go to me now, what do you mean you didn't know that you were being judged? Like, please, you're entering into a bodybuilding show. I said, yeah, but it's not when you're a young female. It's not until you actually step on that stage. I pretty much came last, that you go, what? Oh my God, I can't believe I put myself in a position where I'm on that stage being ridiculed. Holy hell. And this is why I kind of set on my mission that every single athlete that comes through my doors, no matter if they come first or last, I want them to be on that stage and be like, hey, judges, judge me. I'm fucking amazing. And if you don't like that, then that's on you. And that's okay, because I've had the most amazing experience. And I think that's why I didn't have a good experience. I hated the process. I didn't understand anything. And I was flying blind a lot of it. The industry has really changed.
But it's good to hear that, because it made me think that's probably would be my scenario, what you feel. Even though at such an old age, anyone's first time experience can be like, I'm being judged here. Like, this is the thing. But I think that's great to get that out in the open and let people know that. So when, and now tell me the transition quickly from journalist to leap of faith of running your own business in the posing.
Yeah.
What made that happen?
I was juggling both journalism and posing at the same time.
And you've done well in your competition. So you've reached
you've
reached the what was your best outcome in the end?
I won Natural Olympia, which was really cool.
Yes.
I loved that. It was my last show at Amateur Olympia that I realized that I enjoy coaching way more. And I'm also not willing personally to do the work that is needed on my physique to be what I need to win that division that I was competing in. And I love helping and I love being a coach. And so it got to a point where I was like, I'm going to make the jump. And yeah, fast forward 5 years later, I've helped over 1,000 women. We have now a team of 6 coaches. We've got 8 staff. We're actually opening a new premises in another state, which is really exciting. I also have over 1,000 competitors in America with my company called The Posing School, which we have courses for every single bodybuilding division, which is really exciting. So you can pose. There is no excuse to not know how to pose, because you can watch these videos and do the instructional guides at your own pace for a fraction of the price of lessons. And it's only growing and evolving, and I'm just so grateful to every athlete that comes through the doors. And I think that for me as a coach, everyone says, oh, you know, are you ever going to take a step back from actually coaching and more, because I've got lots of fingers in different pies and mentorship, and I now teach people how to become posing coaches. And for me, I still love a first timer. I love it when they come in, and I've got this woman called Robin. She's located in Montana in America, and she's in her late 50s, and I've got a special soft spot for her, and she's wanting to compete for the first time. And so she came to me, and it's so amazing to watch her process and to teach her and to make sure that when she steps on that stage, she has the most amazing time. And I think that for me, that's what I love about my job. I love helping, and I love protecting athletes so they can never go through the experience that I went through. And it's really cool because I'm actually going to America to watch her first show. So that'll be in August. So for me, I'll always love that. And then I just love that hopefully I've made posing a priority, because when I first started in the industry, you wouldn't get a posing coach until like 8 weeks out. Whereas now I have athletes that are working two years in advance, and it's great. It keeps me in a job. It keeps all my staff in a job. It keeps every other posing coach in a job as well. And I really feel like now athletes are making posing a priority, which was what I wanted and what was my mission all those years ago when I started out.
I'll let you know, I think people in the past want posing to come back, and I think people today want posing to come back. And
Posing's back.
No. Well, sorry, posing's back, but I think it's when I say we'll
good posing.
No, but we'll finish with this. I think when I said to you, we need bodybuilding, the shows to be a spectacular, and I think it's the posing that makes it a spectacular. You can go out there and do a double bicep pose. You can do a most muscular. I mean, great. But when there is a beautiful routine and music's played as well, whatever's going on at the time, I think that's what a paying crowd will enjoy. It's well worth the money, and also probably bring people to come and watch bodybuilding shows and maybe stick around longer because it is a spectacular.
Very controversial, but a better poser, very controversial. This is my slogan.
Go.
A better poser will always beat a better body, but there's a catch. If there are two physiques that are almost identical, right? It's neck and neck.
Neck and neck.
There are two out there in that open. They're fighting for it no matter what division. If you have a muscle, but you cannot pose for it and you cannot show it and you aren't highlighting your weaknesses and highlighting your strengths and hiding your weaknesses.
I heard C-Bump say the same thing, in a sense. Yeah.
Then someone that is posing better, that maybe has a flaw that the judges haven't seen, they're going to win.
100%. I mean, because I'm going to ask you to now promote yourself, but C-Bump said the same thing. He knew what not to show. And he said, he goes, that's what made me win, because I knew not what to show. So at the end of the day, you going out there to show your strengths, not your weaknesses. And once you know how to pose them, and it's like David Copperfield, the illusion, it's creating all that illusion. So tell us, where can we find you?
Yes.
What's going on out there? All these businesses, tell us now.
Yep, amazing. So for anyone that wants to learn how to pose, we have bricks and mortar here in Sydney with Australian Posing School. We have coaches for all divisions, all different federations, all different levels, which is really amazing, both men and women. We also have Amy Fox over in Perth as well, which is super exciting. She's an incredible woman. And then we do online as well. So wherever you are in the world, you can pose with us. We've got clients everywhere from Costa Rica to India to the Netherlands.
And what's that business called?
Everywhere.
What's that?
Well, no, you can still pose with us online, private lessons through Australian Posing School.
Right.
But the Posing School is complete online courses. So if you are someone that maybe is a night shift worker that can't commit to a schedule, that also doesn't have the finances to commit to, say, 10 private lessons, we have the Posing School, which have courses for fit model, bikini, wellness, figure, men's bodybuilding, and we have a whole range of ebooks as well. So you can never have the excuse that you weren't prepared or you didn't know how to pose on stage. And in that, we have an amazing community with unlimited support. So if you ever need help with following the videos and you're like, oh, is this right? You can always message us. It's included in the price, and it's incredibly cheap. So that's called the Posing School.
Well, Becc, thank you so much for coming on.
Much.
It's been amazing.
Amazing.
You're
Thank
amazing.
you for having me. Thank you.